Imagine if we had that going on.
If we had year-round media coverage of Charles Barkley, he'd be called a fat slob who can't play defense, a foul merchant.
You mean like Luka? You mean like Luka?
Correct.
Who's at the? You mean like Luka, who's at the top of the league? By the way,
you want to know why?
But he's telling you we would hear the fact that Charles Barkley is fat and lazy and everything. We'll hear that way more. Yeah, and you basically just confirmed it. Bow, boy, where you been? It's TeeJay the Artist. You rockin' with me. You are the smartest, and we back with another video, man. NBA old head versus 10 Gen Z fans. About to get into this next question, and I think it has something to do with the 90s era. We've been doing pretty good with the first two questions. It was like the 90s Bulls is better than the 2010 Warriors. The other question was Magic Johnson is a better point guard than Steph Curry. About to get into this next one. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. You know we're gonna have commentary throughout the whole thing. Let's do it.
Could you turn me up in the headphones a little bit?
Right. In order to do that, so.
All right, here we go.
I'm just saying.
Since we're on the subject of the 90s, I think one of the biggest problems that I have is that, people talk about the 90s.
The 90s era of the NBA is not overrated. It's not. It built what we have now, but this comes from the we're done with the 90s TikTok going viral and them showing clips of how the 90s basketball actually was, because we only see highlights, but you can go and type in actual full games and you'll see what some of those games look like. And it's a lot of bad, but it is what it is. But a lot of those players that came out of the 90s shaped what we have today.
Being overrated. I don't think the 90s is overrated. I don't.
You got to hear that because your generation are the most nostalgic motherfuckers in the world. You guys evangelize everything. There wasn't mass media back then. You go on the TV, you had like 5 channels to choose from. You're watching Golden Girls, you're watching the news, or you're watching the Chicago Bulls play. So because of that, the response to that you see from young people that are too disrespectful, too dismissive of what was around back then that actually has merit.
Yep.
It's all in response to the ridiculous pedestal that people that watch the game back then hold it to because of the memories they have associated with it that aren't rooted in logic. It's just purely emotional. All the reasons that exist today on why players are better today, teams are better today, that's all true. And maybe people take it too far to diminish what happened because naturally everything progresses.
Yeah.
It all comes down.
I don't know if it's emotional because we can talk fact. I think about the players that played in the 90s, the athlete that was in the 90s. There were some ridiculous athletes in the 90s. And since you're talking about media, I'm trying to imagine what the media looks like when they're talking about Charles Barkley, who from 1989 to 1993, he had, I think, 85. Yeah, he had 85, 30, and 10 games. That's more than KG. Right? So this is what's going on. Imagine if we're covering this guy every day. See, I was only able to see this once in a while. John Stockton, he had a 10-year, he had a 3-year stretch where he went 17 and 13, 17 and 14. That's a 6-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. Imagine if we got a dude running around in the NBA with a 6-to-1 assist to turnover ratio today, and we only see him like once or twice a year. Imagine if we had that going on.
If we had year-round media coverage of Charles Barkley, he'd be called a fat slob who can't play defense, a foul merchant,
You mean like Luka? You mean like Luka?
Correct.
Who's at the? You mean like Luka, who's at the top of the league, by the way?
You want to know why?
But he's telling you we would hear the fact that Charles Barkley is fat and lazy and everything. We'll hear that way more. Yeah, and you basically just confirmed it. Oh, just like Luka? Exactly like Luka, sir. You confirming it. You're confirming what he's saying. You're confirming what he's saying. Yes, they will call Charles Barkley fat, sloppy, lazy, and all that stuff. No matter what he's doing out there on the court, they don't care about what his production is on the court. He look fat. They'll do that with everybody. They'll do that with everybody. As soon as somebody miss a shot, that's another thing. Like you're saying that we only get a chance to see one of them games once or twice, and you have to hear about the rest of those games. So that means the games that they put on TV for y'all to watch, and some of them was on tape delay back in the day. I don't know if the 90s was tape delay. Maybe it was live everywhere. But the games that they put live, so that means they didn't even show all of the games. So the games where these stars have bad games, y'all don't really see it. So y'all only see the good. That's crazy. But yeah,
Guy?
You want to know? We had year-round media coverage of Charles Barkley. He'd be called a fat slob who can't play defense, a foul merchant,
You
a
mean like
transition
Luka?
merchant.
You mean like Luka?
Correct.
Who's at the? You mean like Luka, who's at the top of the league? by
he
the way?
said correct.
That guy?
You want to know why? We're talking about things being evangelized and things being
Right.
emotional. The mass media today and the fact that people can see everything.
Sure.
There's never been a crop of people in the world that are more hatred in their heart than young fans today.
Right.
And they have all the reasons in the world to criticize players.
Right.
The reason these guys are revered so highly is because they didn't get to see enough of them.
Right.
They only got to see Barkley in the finals.
Right.
So it's, he's the finals guy, MVP guy. They don't get to criticize their weaknesses.
Sure.
Joel Embiid has more of all those stats you said than those guys you mentioned before.
Right.
Washes those guys offensive players. Washes not Kevin Garnett. but
And I'm glad you
Barkley's
brought that
defensive.
up.
And he's the most hated player of all goddamn time.
Actually, he's not
Media.
because he's still a top 5 player still, and like you just talked about.
You think
with
he's talked
Luka,
about it like
you-
this?
And you
Just because he's a top 5 player doesn't mean that he doesn't get hate. So you're saying that? Are you saying that he can't be top 5 if he's getting hate?
talking about Luka also. As much as we talk about Luka being a fat slob and Luka doesn't work on his game and Luka doesn't do this, Luka is still revered as one of the 3-4 best players in the game.
And imagine
so
you play
if,
the
What is your point? He's saying that that the 90s players will be criticized way more whether they're good or not. And you're trying to say, well, yeah, he's hated, but he's still the top. That's not. Your point ain't good right now, old man.
90s. He wouldn't be called a fat slob. He'd be called White Jesus. He'd be called everything in the He'd
Really?
be evangelized.
Right.
He'd be
That's true. If Luka was in the 90s and he played like that, and we didn't see news on him every day, he'd be the greatest white boy all the time. He'd be better. They'll say he better than Larry Bird.
he evangelized so much.
So he's evangelized like that today, only except we get to see him more and you just talking bad about him. We still talk about him as a great player today, just like you would talk about Charles Barkley if he played today. Just like if you talk about a guy like Buck Williams, who was an all-league defender, if he played
Who's Buck?
today. Just like you would talk about any of these other guys, if they played today and they were, once again, if they were covered the way that they're covered back then, the way that they're covered today,
Yeah.
it would be way different. So I'm trying to imagine what Olajuwon would look like today in today's game if he was covered as much as he was covered back then. I'm trying to imagine if Kevin Johnson, who's a 4-time All-League performer, Mark Price, what he would look like in today's game, or Penny Hardaway, how we would be covering those, how would we be talking about these guys today. I don't think that the game is overrated. I think that the game is actually underrated because if you think about Anthony Edwards, who do we compare him to? Right?
Jordan.
If you think about Steph Curry, who do we compare him to?
Nobody. Who do we compare Steph Curry to?
Magic. So when we talk about all of these,
We don't compare him to Magic. We just say he better than Magic. That's not comparing. Because nobody does what Steph does.
guys, I don't think it's underrated. I don't think that it's revered as enough. But I don't want to go overboard with it.
Yeah.
I don't want to
No,
do
I see what you're saying. There's definitely pros and cons. Some guys who get more spotlight and less.
Sure.
But overall, you remember things fondly when you don't see the negatives as much. And these days, you see a whole lot of negatives go with the positives that really muddies things up. And history remembers the positives a lot more than negatives. So
That is a fact. The further and further you get away from people's careers and they're like when they retire, further and further away you'll forget things. Like when it comes to Jordan, they don't even talk about the Wizard years. They just we don't know about none of that. That ain't happening. We don't know about none of that. You know what I'm saying? You further and further you get away, you forget that you forget KG was a Minnesota Timberwolves. Like he don't be hanging out with none of them. He be with the Celtics all the time. You know what I'm saying? The further and further you get away, you forget about things. You know what I'm saying? You forget that Charles Barkley was actually ring chasing. Forget about that. Further and further you get away.
that is why people of that generation tend to overrate things and, give and take.
Fair enough.
And I also think people from that generation overrate things so they're not forgotten. That's what it is. It's being forgotten. That's what it really is. Like we're going to have to argue for people like James Harden as the game goes along. We're gonna have to argue for people like that. We're gonna have to argue for a guy like Tracy McGrady. We're gonna have to argue for people like that, bro. Because they're arguing for people like all the people he named. He's named Buck Williams. I don't know who that is. Mark Price, I know who that is, but I don't know how good he was. I ain't watch him play. So he's arguing for people like that. That's what we're gonna have to do in the future. That was a good one,
was
though.
the Golden Girls reference.
That was a good one, though.
I said that on the podcast a few weeks ago.
All
What's
right.
up, brother? How you doing, my man? All right.
good.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, before we start, I just have to address something you said. Joel Embiid is not top 5 in the world right now. You said that before. I just had to, I couldn't let that.
Well,
slide.
today.
Exactly.
Today.
Right now, I just can't let that slide.
And why?
I can't let that slide.
And why?
Because he doesn't play.
That's the only reason. Not
Listen,
because
listen,
it's
we're aligned on that.
Yeah.
We're aligned on that.
Okay, I
We're
make
aligned
sure.
on that.
Not because it's game.
But the 90s
True.
are overrated, and it's because of people from your generation. Because in every single field across the world, everybody can understand that as time goes on, things get better.
Sure.
You look at other sports, people say, yes, players today are different than what they were before. You always say they're bigger, faster, stronger. You look at technology. Technology today is much better than it was back
Yeah.
then. You look at the way cars are made, the way people cook food, all of that stuff. Everybody acknowledges the way we do things today are largely better than what they were 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Except when we get to NBA basketball. When it gets to NBA basketball, now it's, we're not doing what they were doing in the 90s. And for a lot of people, I will say, listen, whether they are young or old, they may not just know what they are looking at. Because if you look at 90s basketball, it is easier to score in 90s basketball than it is today. You can have a situation where you say, 1, 2, 3, 4, you go over there, I'm going to play one-on-one here, and if I can get by my guy, I can score. You don't have to.
That is true. They didn't have zone defense in the NBA back in the day. It was called illegal defense. You couldn't hang around. If you wanted to double team, you had to literally go over there and double team. You couldn't like stick around and hang around in the paint waiting for a drive. Now there's zone defense in the NBA, and it does slow down the scoring a lot. You see Miami Heat, that's what they were running most of those times when they was going all the way to the finals. They was running zone the whole time. So, yeah, I see what he's saying. And one player can put a team over because all he got to do is call ISO the whole game.
You don't have to play zone defense. You don't have to worry about a guy shading over here or defenses being so set up to stop you. Right. And as time goes on, you look at numbers, you look at analytics, and you figure out, this is a better way to get more points on the board in this 48-minute span than what we were doing 20 years ago. Right. And everybody can acknowledge that, except for people who are just obsessed with the 90s.
Well, I think that it can be a little bit pretentious, but with that being said, it is a little bit overboard because you say stuff like the athlete is better today than it was in the 90s. I mean, I was watching Kenny Smith in 1990 throw the ball between his legs and dunk the ball off the backboard backwards at 6'3" in 1990. That was going on, right? I was watching Terrence Stansbury do 360s from the
Man, talking about dunk contest.
From the dotted line off of one leg. These are athletes, and that was going on. And that's one of the biggest problems that we have with today. The athlete is better today than what it was back then. When we had superior athletes like Sean Kemp, we had superior athletes like Xavier McDaniel, we had superior athletes like
I don't know who Xavier McDaniels is.
Charles Barkley, who was considered a fat slob, but that wasn't going on back then as fast as he was running and as high as he was jumping. These kind of guys were superior athletes, and that's the thing that you guys harp on the most. The athlete is better. The skill set was better. Isaiah Thomas had a ridiculous handle. Isaiah Thomas was incredible at getting by guys and getting to the rim. Mark Price is another guy who played pick and roll and pick and pop. And
basically what I said he's doing right now. He's trying to keep names alive. That's what it is. He just doesn't want people to shit on the 90s. He's like, with people saying that it's overrated, I do understand because, like I said, that we done with the 90s thing kind of made it popular to hate on the 90s. And what he's doing right now is saying, like, listen, don't shit on the 90s. That's all it is. He's trying to keep the names alive.
it was fantastic.
We're going to have to fight for those 2000s guys, bro. AI, Tracy McGrady, Vince Carter, that little era right there, Steve Nash. We're going to have to fight for them. Get ready. We're going to have to fight for them, old heads.
Fantastic at it, and his game would translate, because that's the thing that I think about the most when I think about these guys back then. Whose game can translate from back then to today? When I watch Bam Adebayo, that's Buck Williams. when I watch Bam Adebayo. That's Buck Williams right there.
I don't know,
and
Buck.
I don't mean that's him specifically, but he reminds me a lot of Buck Williams when I watch him. Every time I watch his game, how he is around the rim, the defender that he is, the glass cleaner that he is, how he is in the mid post. Buck Williams actually toned his game down when he was with the Portland Trailblazers because he was an 18-10 guy to play a different role to be a defender. Now, if I'm doing that today, and in today's game is how much space that we have out here, I think it's way different than what it is back then.
And listen, shout out Buck Williams. You know what I'm saying? But if you all the comparisons and all the era stuff, it can't just go one way. You can't just say, oh, what would they do back like how would a 90s player look today? You can take people from today and say they can play in the 90s. You can say if you put Steph Curry right now in 1992, the way that he moves around, it's different. Like there's so many skill sets today that if you put back then, they wouldn't know what to do, and they would be the ones who revolutionized the game.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
That's a good one. Good point, boy.
All right.
Oh, hey, I don't know. You getting a little cooked this
What's up,
time.
brother? What's going on, brother?
By the way, all these guys right here got their own podcast. The first one, the second one, and him, they on the podcast together.
Yes,
Doing
sir.
good, doing good,
Yes,
doing
sir.
good. So,
Uh-oh.
when I think about the 90s basketball, great product. It is what it is for that time. Key point, it is what it is for that time.
Right.
They just got done doing crack back then.
Oh, my gosh. Where's this video headed? Lord have mercy. Why did you just say that?
Naturally, you're not better than what we have going on right now, just with the way times of all things are going. We shoot better, we play faster, we play better, rebound better. Everything is just naturally better.
So what was the reason of you saying crack? Like, what? Like,
It
listen.
is for that time. Key point, it is what it is
Like, what you're about to say has nothing to do with your next point.
for that time.
Right.
They just got done doing crack.
But then the next sentence don't even go along with this. Like, what?
Back then. Naturally, you're not better than what we have going on right now, just with the way
What the crack got to
times
do with
of all
this?
things are going. We shoot better, we play faster, we play better, rebound better. Everything is just naturally better.
It's just naturally better based on just the time. That's
Time.
That's
Time.
essentially what
It's
you're saying.
time, and then
even so it's based on the time. Even though with the stuff that was going on then, it could translate to today. So not everybody was on drugs back then. Just so you know,
A lot of them were, though.
I just want to make. I just want
A lot of them were.
I just want to make sure that we clear. Not everybody was on drugs back then, and the guys who were on drugs were pretty damn good, even being on drugs. So it's not like these dudes were just keeling over. No, that's not what was going on. The guys who were on drugs, to your point, were really damn good. But I want to make sure that I get back to the point that if you have something that was older and now it's here today,
Yes.
it can be updated. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to get away from how good guys are today. I think Giannis would destroy the 90s. I don't think he would be good in the 90s.
Only reason I started clapping is because the 90s era people, older guys, claim so much that some of these guys today wouldn't last back then. I hate it because it's like you're gonna sit up here and tell me that guy, Giannis 6'9", 6'10", he just runs straight to the basket. No matter how big you is, small you, it don't matter. I'm dunking on you. They'll say somebody like that can't play. They'll say somebody like LeBron James can't play back then. They'll say somebody like Steph Curry. Oh, I forgot what that dude said. He said Steph Curry wouldn't score over 15 points a game. You mean the guy that shoots from half court? Oh, we just gonna guard full court press him. They do that now, and he still dropped 30. Like what are we talking about? Oh, you know what? We just gonna hurt him. That's what he said. He said he'll average 15 because we gonna hurt him. That ain't defense. That's not defense. You're saying that he's gonna cook you so bad that you know what? We just gonna hurt his ass, and then he can't play. And that's why he won't do good, because we'll hurt him. Not because of his skill and y'all will guard him. The fact that y'all are going to. hurt him.
I think he would destroy the 90s. But I can also say Hakeem Olajuwon would destroy this era. I think he would kick ass in this era.
That's fair.
Because his game translates.
Yeah. Hakeem literally is teaching the bigs right now with the way that he plays. So I give him that.
I think that the guys whose game translates the most, that's why they're all-time greats. That's why I think about Penny Hardaway and Gary Payton and Mark Price and Jason Kidd and guys like Grant Hill. I think that they're guys
I forgot Jason Kidd is a 90s guy.
translate to today's game the most, and because it translates to today's game because of the athlete that they are, because of the skill set. And on top of that, I think we completely leave out that these guys coming into the game, they wouldn't just still be what they are. They would adapt to the game. So
You really think so?
100%. Okay, because I can't shoot, I'm gonna see guys who can shoot.
That's a wild hypothetical.
No, it's not.
I can't leave
Wait.
that.
No, it's not.
Say it again.
Adapt to the game. So, and on top of that, I think we completely leave out that these guys coming into the game, they wouldn't just still be what they are. They would adapt to the game. So
You really think so?
100%. Okay, because I can't shoot, I'm gonna see guys who can shoot.
That's a wild hypothetical.
No, it's not.
I can't lean that
No,
way.
it's not.
I
And the
go
reason
by
why-
with what I see on paper. and on
Right.
the court. If you could shoot back then, you would show me you could shoot.
Right.
Jordan couldn't do that back then. He was shooting at 31, 32%
All
from
you
three-point
talking
line.
about
And
is the
so
long ball line. Just so you know,
that's-
it's a huge floor. And I'm not just shooting at the long ball line. I'm shooting in the mid-range, which Jordan had a money mid-range game. That was his game,
Absolutely.
in fact. Not only was that his game, him getting to the rim, scoring over bigs.
Just because you can hit mid-range don't mean that you have the ability to shoot from the three-point line. DeMar DeRozan has that exact same skill
Yep.
set when it comes to shooting. He's not a three-point shooter.
Which is the
That's just
worst logic
assumptions.
that I've ever heard in my whole life when I hear you dudes talk about DeMar DeRozan.
I'm just talking about shooting aspects.
Right, and
That's it.
we're talking about shooting aspects because I hear you dudes talk about DeMar DeRozan like Jordan would be DeMar DeRozan in today's game.
That's not what I'm saying.
Who is the closest thing in you guys' estimation to Michael Jordan? Kobe Bryant, and not one of you would say DeMar DeRozan and Kobe Bryant in the same sentence.
I'm
ever.
just talking
Not
about
one
He
time.
just talk about the mid-range. All right, let me run this
You
back.
think so?
100%. I think that their guys translate to today's game the most, and because it translates to today's game because of the athlete that they are, because of the skill set. And on top of that, I think we completely leave out that these guys coming into the game, they wouldn't just still be what they are. They would adapt to the game. So
You really think so?
100%. Okay, because I can't shoot, I'm gonna see guys who can shoot.
That's a wild hypothetical.
I think he's trying to say that if an older guy came into the newer game, that they will just adjust their game to how it's played today and vice versa. And what he's saying is, I can only take from what I've seen and place them with those types of games. That's why the comparison of Jordan and DeMar DeRozan came up, because Jordan was a mid-range guy, and our today's mid-range king is DeMar DeRozan. He's not saying that Jordan will be DeMar DeRozan, but the mid-range will be just like that. And DeMar DeRozan, he can shoot threes, but he's not a three-point shooter. So the old guy is saying that Jordan will change his game to be able to shoot the long ball. And to be honest, if we only do what he says, which is do what we, see what, if we only see what we see, Jordan wouldn't be no three-point shooter.
I can't lean that way.
No, it's not.
I
And the
go
reason
by
why-
with what I see on paper. and on
Right.
the court. If you could shoot back then, you would show me you could shoot.
Right.
That's true. That is true.
Jordan couldn't do that back then. He was shooting at 31, 32% from
All you
three-point
talking
line.
about
And
is the
so
long ball line. Just so you know, it's a huge floor. And I'm not just shooting at the long ball line. I'm shooting in the mid-range, which Jordan had a money mid-range game. That was his game,
Absolutely.
in fact. Not only was that his game, him getting to the rim, scoring over bigs.
Just because you can hit mid-range don't mean that you have the ability to shoot from the three-point line. DeMar
Facts.
DeRozan has that exact same skill
Yep.
set when it comes to shooting. He's not a three-point shooter.
Which is the
That's just
worst logic
assumptions.
that I've ever heard in my whole life when I hear you dudes talk about DeMar DeRozan.
I'm just talking about shooting
And
aspects.
right, and
That's
we're and we're talking about shooting aspects because I hear you dudes talk about DeMar DeRozan like Jordan would be DeMar DeRozan in today's game.
That's not what I'm saying.
Who is the closest thing in you guys' estimation to Michael Jordan? Kobe Bryant, and not one of you would say DeMar DeRozan and Kobe Bryant in the same sentence.
I'm just talking
Not
about
one
the
time with you
logic
guys.
of shooting
But
the ball
shooting.
and assuming that you have the ability
Right.
to shoot.
And
the
I'm not
three-point
saying
line.
that. And that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that a guy in DeMar DeRozan who has now put the 3-ball in his game.
It's not good still, but
It might be. It's respectable where he will shoot the 3. Jordan could shoot the 3. We saw 6 threes in one game, right?
I knew he was gonna bring that game up. How many times did Jordan do that? Because they made a spectacle out of that. That was a challenge on 2K. Hit 6 threes with Michael Jordan. Today people do that. Derek White will do that tomorrow. Like it.
We saw him knocking down. Yes.
Dante DiVincenzo shoots 9 a game.
Yes, sir.
And he just said Dante DiVincenzo hit 9 a game.
100%.
Dante shoots 9.
Yes, and Jordan would have to shoot more threes, no doubt about
And he's
that.
not hitting most of them. That's why when
And
it
neither,
comes to scalability between the two,
neither are all of the other guys. So when you're talking about elite guys, I mean, Jason Tatum shoots 12. How many of them is he hitting?
probably 8 of them.
No, he's not hitting 8 of them. Hell no.
I didn't believe that in a
No,
second. But when
absolutely.
it comes to scalability and what these guys in today's game could do compared to the limitations that these guys from the 90s have, naturally they're going to be able to do more because they were brought up to do more.
Right.
The 90s guys, all you can do is assume. But along with that assumption, you have to take with what you see out there on the court. There are only like, I don't know, 5, 6, maybe 10 guys who were truly like ahead of their time in terms of how they played. That's a fair assumption. But with guys like Jordan, any other elite offensive player, it's hard for me to see that. Magic Johnson, it's hard for me to see that and assume that he could do what guys like
I don't
Jokic
know
is doing.
why. I really don't know why.
It's just harder.
It's because we didn't see it, bro. We can't sit here and say, I don't know, Deontay Wilder. We see him, how he fight, how he knock out everybody. And if he goes back then, will he knock people out? Probably. But we can't say George Frazier. I mean, I said George Frazier. I was putting George Foreman and Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier, take him from then and then put him in today's heavyweight versus Alexander Usyk or something and be like, he can just run through him. He's like, well, I don't know. He just walk up and hook you to death. Like, I don't know if he'll be able to handle Alexander Usyk with his style. You know what I'm saying? It's just, we can only go off of what we see. You know what I'm saying? And we saw this. Yeah. But we put him here. I don't know. You take somebody from football, Ray Lewis, knocking people's heads off. We put him in today's game. He'll get fined so much. he'll never be able to play. He'll be suspended. You see what I'm saying? So yeah.
All right, Mo.
Yep.
Okay, so far so good. I feel like the old man losing though.
Meet again, OG.
Uh-oh. What's going on, brother? Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
So I want to start this debate by laying the ground rules of the debate. I believe that all the great players back then would be great today for the most part. So I'm not trying to debate about the great players. I want to debate about the premise of the average NBA player today is better than the average NBA player in the 90s.
Ooh. Yo. This old man finna go 0 for 4.
Interesting. So
He said let's eliminate all the stars. Jordan, Patrick Ewing, Hakeem Olajuwon, get them the fuck out of here. We know y'all will be good in today's game. Cool. LeBron, KD, Steph, Anthony Edwards, Jokic, Giannis, Joel Embiid. Put them in a box, send them and ship them out of here because we know y'all will be good in the 90s. Let's talk about Derek White. Let's talk about OG Anunoby. Let's talk about those guys versus Ron Harper. I don't know. I can't think of
I'm not thinking about just average players. I'm thinking about like guys who were in other positions. Like, for example, I think Otis Thorpe would be great in today's game, just as a dirty work guy.
Who was oldest? See, he keeping names alive.
He's good in the mid post. I think he was a great defender. I think he was a great rebounder. And what Isaiah Stewart does for the Detroit Pistons, he could do that for a championship contending team or playoff team. And on top of doing that, I think he would be even better because I think he was a better offensive player than Isaiah Stewart.
So I think we can agree that players back then that were good probably will be good here. So I'm not
Yes.
trying to disrespect those players back then.
Sure.
But I am trying to argue that there was a dilution in the product back then because starting from 88, they expanded. And up until 95, they expanded to 6 total teams.
Sure.
You had the Grizzlies, you had the Heat, you had the Hornets, you had the Timberwolves, you had the Raptors, and you had the Timberwolves.
Said that twice. You had the Magic. We came up in there somewhere.
For the most part, half of those teams right now still are bad NBA franchises. So
Not Minnesota.
you could only imagine in the 90s, most of them weren't good. Outside of the Magic, none of them had immediate success.
Shout out to Orlando Magic. Orlando we jumped straight up in that bitch. Shaq, Penny, finals. Here y'all talking about expansion.
I think
Beat Jordan on the way.
when you have 6 new NBA teams introduced in an era, you automatically get worse NBA players on those teams. I think right now the NBA desperately needs an expansion because there are too many good NBA players.
That is true. I think they said they bringing Seattle back and they gonna put a team in Las Vegas. That is true. They do need to watch it. And Dennis Rodman said that the games was too easy back then. He said they was too easy. He said because it got too spread out. He said all the talent got too spread out, and the Chicago Bulls was at the top of that. Dennis Rodman said it.
We see what Quentin Grimes is doing with the 76ers right now. He's averaging 25 plus points per game. Back then in the 90s, you didn't have Quentin Grimes that bounce around teams and can average 20 a night.
Interesting, because number one, the Heat showed up in '88. They were in the playoffs 4 years later. They were in the Eastern Conference Championship in '97.
That's a good franchise.
Which
Yep.
is 9 years later. The Minnesota Timberwolves, I'll give you that. The Orlando Magic, we already talked about. We already talked about them. Charlotte, who ended up
Joke.
Yeah, Charlotte.
Yeah.
Well, they weren't a joke back then because I mean they had the number
had a
one
good
pick.
run.
Not only did they have a good run,
Yep.
I mean they drafted well. They beat.
Oh, that was with Lonzo Mourning and Larry Johnson. They did have and Muggsy Bogues. They had a little.
Beat the Boston Celtics and ended that franchise. Ended their run. So Charlotte. Let's see the Miami Heat. Let's see Orlando. So teams like that. So teams like that. It wasn't of the 5 teams. That's 60% of them that were actually really
There was
good.
6. We have
about
the
that.
Raptors, we
Right.
have the Grizzlies. So
Right.
both of those teams at first were very bad
They
teams.
had no idea what they were doing with the Grizzlies. That's why they ended up folding. So I mean, I can't count them. But with that being said,
You can't count them.
they also had players on that team who weren't bad. I mean, Big Country Reeves. Shaq would tell me all the time how much of a difficult time he had with Big Country Reeves. He is the same one that when he retires, he's gonna say, this guy was he gave me the most problems. That's Joel Embiid. When Joel Embiid retires, he's gonna say, Al Horford gave me hell. I promise you that.
Now, in 98-99, the team with the best offensive rating was the Indiana Pacers with the 110 offensive rating.
Sure.
Right now, that would rank bottom 10 in the NBA in terms of offensive rating. Offensive rating now has exploded, and it's exploded
Yeah.
since the 2000s.
Yep.
It's even better than the 90s. I'm looking at the average NBA player today. They need to have more skills to play and be in a rotation than back then. Back then, you can have one role. You could either defend really well, rebound really well, maybe shoot, maybe pass. Now, you have to have a combination of at least 3 of them.
Sure, but the offensive rating really quickly doesn't really work for me because the Golden State Warriors in 2015, 2016 had the best offense in NBA history. They'd be at the bottom of the league today. In 2025, it would be the worst offense in the NBA today.
So imagine just how much better it is than the 90s.
Got your ass.
Fair enough.
Ah!
OG.
He just went 0-4.
Next topic.
Well, it's interesting. We were talking about the Golden State Warriors adding Kevin Durant and how much better he made them. But I think about what the Celtics.
All right. He just went 0-4 for this one, but hey, I ain't gonna lie, OG. You got cooked in that one. We gonna end it right here. The next one's gonna be Larry Bird is better all time than Kevin Durant. Boy, get off my goddamn.